Hello, Discover Double Bass. Sorry for the noise in the background. There's kids watching TV. I'm answering a question here about bass placement that I feel like I've struggled with for a long time, but I got some good answers from some good people. So I'm going to start with something John Clayton said, which is that if you're trying to do arco and pizzicato, you probably want the bass leaning against you, and it's going to have more weight. But the thing you want to do is have the bass up on the end pin more than you would think, even if you're short like me. So the first thing you can start off with is putting your arm out and just having an arm straight and just seeing exactly where the heel meets the palm of your hand, if that makes sense. It's a little bit taller than me right now because this is what works for me. So this is one thing that you'll have to kind of figure out through trial and error. So then I'm going to lean it back on me into a V shape where the back meets the side of the bass, right? And I'm gonna have just a little bit left because I like to have it lean into my hands when I'm doing pizzicato, especially faster tempos. This was something somebody else asked about. I had really bad tendonitis for a long time in both arms because of the placement of the bass for one, and then a lot of tension that was kind of unnecessary. So the thing you should try to do is have the bass balance just on your thumbs without much touching or gripping or anything of the sort. So then that way when you're playing, you can kind of move the bass back and forth without having your hand clenched. So then that way you can actually do some more expressive articulations, in my opinion, some that are in tune, some that aren't. And then the other thing too is when you have the bass leaned back, you have the option of leaning with a straight back from your waist forward to get to the end of the fingerboard. I don't have the longest arm span, so I'm not trying to play a bass that's straight up and down and then somehow get over behind it. You know, I'm really trying to get to the end of the fingerboard with as little effort from my shoulder too as possible. So another thing I might do is I might just have it a little bit more forward where I'm kind of reaching a little bit. So my chest is going to feel a little bit of tension, but when I pull it in, then when I get into thumb position, I'm not forcing my arm straight out, and I'm also not using any excess force or weight from my arm or my fingers. And the same thing goes for the right arm, where you're just kind of bringing it in, and no matter what position you're playing in, you don't really have to change your arm or your shoulder. You don't have to bring your shoulders up at all, and you can just be kind of relaxed while you're playing. So again, check the end pin length, maybe raise it up even if you think it's too tall, lean it in, get that V going. Even if you have a gut, I have a little bit of a quarantine 15 going on, so you know, I got it leaned on my gut, and you just kind of bring it in, and that'll feel natural once you kind of get it. And like one thing that I do a lot frequently on gigs is I'll lean from my waist in between songs because it's actually kind of relaxing to just be like one with your instrument, giving it a hug, etc., etc. If you have any other questions, like, feel free to ask. Feel free to add anything. If you think what I'm saying is incorrect, please correct me, because I am just trying this the best way that I know. For me, I don't like to sit, so this is what works for me. When I sit too long, my butt hurts. It's just a thing about my body, so that is what works for me. And I've tried sitting. I like standing a lot more. I can go for 4 hours and not, you know, feel fatigued because I've kind of figured out this balance point with my, you know, my waist and my feet and my upper body and how to support myself. And, you know, and if you need to, there are a lot of videos on posture, just unrelated to music. If you're feeling especially back pain and upper shoulder stuff, you know, one thing that I think that I've done wrong for a long time is kind of leaned in when I was trying to play the bass straight up and down, is I'm trying to lean over and, you know, get up there and dig in, whereas I much more appreciate being able to do something like this and really struggling to play this stuff, so it's like a lot more fun for me to just kind of get onto the bass, know it's going to be set up the same way every time. I actually have a piece of tape that I've glued to the end of my end pin, and then, I mean, it may sound silly and it may not be a great way to travel with your bass, but since we're stuck inside, something that works for me. Again, Any questions, anything you need, I'm gonna take a picture of my end pin so you see how far it is out. I'm 5'6", so I can give you like a ratio and just see what works for you. And yeah, I hope this works. I hope this helps. All right, have a good one.